got a special guest today. I convinced him to come on today, even though he's out of town with family on vacation. But this guy, my buddy that I met down here in Dallas, his name is John Sansone, and he is the sales warrior. This dude deals with high level, high net worth clients, and he's just got a really great gift of not only executing on these things himself, but he teaches and trains and coaches people just like I do in his field of expertise. But he is going to light us up with some words of wisdom. I even had to tell him it was okay that he didn't have to be in a studio to do this call. So he's actually taken the call from his car somewhere in the Midwest where it's evidently really cold. So John, thank you for joining us today. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Dave, Coach Dave. I'm doing awesome, man. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How many of you are in the Midwest where it's cold, like he is right now? Okay, there you go. A few of you. What state are you in right now? Missouri?
Yeah, I'm right outside of Kansas City. I'm actually getting ready to walk into a breakfast with the guys that I won city championship in football back in the 80s, if that dates me.
Well, I wasn't going to date you, but what do y'all think? He just dated himself, didn't he? We'll still give him some virtual high fives. So John's got some pretty cool things that you do. So John, I'm going to kind of turn it over to you. The 23-minute huddle, we go from 9 to 9:23. So share with us, if you would, a couple of the things, the strategies that have made you so successful, that have literally made you a very successful sales trainer, helping others as you coach and train people. What is it that you talk about and can impart wisdom on this group today?
Yeah, I just want to pour into your group here. First and foremost, I think one of the main reasons why I'm so successful is that I show up. So 90% of success, Dave, I know you know Coach Dave, is just showing up like your guys did today, like this loan officer huddle. You showed up. That's 90% of success. The other 10% of success is execution and follow through. I'm really good at both execution and follow through, and I'm really good at just showing up. Um, I want to give you guys some mind frame type of things to consider when you're reaching out to professionals to get leads for loans. First and foremost, I want you to think of it as a game. Like one of the reasons I've been able to sell for 34 years is if I said stuff to myself like, "Oh, I'm going to grind it out today. I'm going to pound the phone. I'm going to beat the hell out of myself in submission until I get a lead." That is non-motivating. But if I say I'm going to groove out, I'm going to cool out, I'm going to game the system, I'm going to get into this game, I'm in it to win it. I start bringing up my vibration. You bring up your vibration, money comes to you, baby.
Like it. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah,
Talk more.
so there's some tips and tricks to get it in that frame. First and foremost, don't go into, and first of all, when you call it cold calling, that's negative. I'm kind of a Zig Ziglar student, so I call it gold calling, GOLD, because getting in there and making those calls leads to the pot of gold. And when you start making it fun for yourself, you start giving yourself a chance to really explode. Like, here's some tips and tricks that I do. If I got to call 50 people, and I'm not completely familiar with your guys' process, but in my business, we got to call 50 people. Just, smile and dial basically. I like to take my shoes off. I like to teach my people to take their shoes off because you get more comfortable. So I think that's a really solid thing to take your shoes off. I think another really solid thing is when you get on the phone with somebody, you know, meet them at their level. And what I mean by that is kind of mirror how they answer the phone. So if you're talking to somebody down south, slow it down. If you're talking to somebody in PA or in New York or Maryland, speed it up. You want to mirror your prospect, and you want to raise your vibration. So like before I get on the phone, one of the things I teach my people and myself, I listen to motivational material. If I'm in the car and I can't listen to motivational material, I listen to Metallica. So you got to get yourself up before you can, connect authentically with other people. You can't go in cold. Like a professional singer doesn't get up there and immediately jump on stage and play. They practice, they warm up in the dressing room before they come out. And I'll tell you, one of the things, Coach Dave, that really helped me early on in my early 20s when I started really succeeding in sales is I would read my script to myself and I would buy for myself. I do it like 2 or 3 times in the early morning. And the reason I would do it is because then I had an anticipation of success. Like I felt like, people are going to buy from me. And here's the key. And this is what's so much fun about, like, I've read a lot of psychology books, Coach Dave, over the years. Um, your subconscious mind can't tell the difference between a real experience or a visualized or imagined experience. And why that's so nice is like you can imagine anything. Like one of the reasons why I've been able to close, like, I don't know, $11 million deals this year, and that was just one deal for 11 million, it is because I visualized it happening before it happened. And that's what's key. um and it didn't surprise me when it happened because I was already speaking it into existence. That's another thing I'm real big believer in is like speak success into existence before you have it. Think of it just as confidently as you think about what you're going to do on a Friday night. Dave, I like to go watch rock bands. So if you talk to me on a Tuesday, I'm telling you, hey, I'm going to go see a band on Friday night. Well, another thing you can tell yourself is this week I'm going to close a big deal or I'm going to get 5 awesome appointments booked. And you start speaking success into existence. And that's where success comes from. Something else I like to do is I like to make a list of all my past successes. I call it the warrior vision list. And I look at it. So, like, while I'm getting into state and while I'm buying for myself, I'm looking at all my past successes. So once I do get somebody on the horn, I'm ready to rock and roll. Like I believe that you're going to do business with me. And that's 90% of it is you got to believe they're going to do business with me. And then you got to go out and fish. And that's the way I think about it when I'm cold calling. I'm not thinking I'm going to immediately sell to this person. I'm like, I'm going to go out and find the right people to sell to. And the right people to sell to and the right people to do business with you will bubble up. And I know Dave, Coach, you guys do a lot of partnerships, right, with different professionals.
A lot of real estate agents, builders, financial planners, things like that. Absolutely.
So you got to lead with value. You get those folks on the phone. You want to book the appointment, give them just enough information to book the real appointment. So you can really spend some time with them and find out what's going on in their business, see a hole in their business and bring them value, whatever that value is. Because if you go into it and thinking, oh, they probably have a loan officer that they've used for years, well, guess what? Interest rates are dropping right now. So that loan officer that they've been using for years is going to be so busy, and there's going to be extra business that this agent that closes a lot of homes, they're going to need more feet on the street, and that's the gap you can fill. Efficiency and being there, and many times if you give them better service than the individual that they've been using for years, you can steal that business. One of the things I've been able to do over the years is I find people that are using a financial planner, and I wait until they do something wrong, and then boom, I'm there to get the client. It's like Coach Dave said, you can't ever give up. And I think that's one of the reasons I've been so successful too, is like I don't ever give up. I think of it as a game. I get in it to win it. And I just, continue to follow up. And I like to use a lot of word pictures to jazz me. So like Coach Dave said, follow up Friday. Man, I've been doing that for 34 years, Coach Dave. Follow up Friday. And what I say to myself is follow up and follow through, just like a golf shot. So any folks in the huddle that play a little golf, when you're playing golf, if you just punch it half the way through, you hit it half as far. And we lose 100% of the opportunities we don't follow up with. So It's so, so important to have that mindset of being in a game, following up, following through, and authentically reaching out to people. I think that's another thing that I bring to the huddle is like when I'm working with somebody, I find out everything I can about that individual so that I'm reaching them on a personal level. So if they're a golfer, if they're a water skier, if they're a boater, if they're a gambler, like I know something personally about them that we can discuss other than just business.
That makes sense. What about relationship building? I know you're dealing with high net worth people, and it's interesting. You talked about manifesting, um, things and manifesting what you want. Because the other day on the call, I think it was Wednesday,
Yeah,
Sean, I think you brought that up, Sean, the other day. He was manifesting, for the last 2 weeks, dealing with some high level net worth clients because he had a sales goal in mind, and the only way he was going to accomplish that was manifesting that, thinking that, breathing it into existence. And all of a sudden, he nailed down a couple of high-end doctor clients,
nice.
like 1.9 and $2 million deals each. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, it's a lot easier to get to 5 million when you stack $2 million deals in there. And so you kind of, we talked about that on Wednesday. You just
Yeah.
brought that up as well, that word pictures are very important. Talk to the group about, you do a lot of rapport building like we do. The
Yeah.
clients are different, but you don't in your industry making a sale on that first call typically, or second call.
Hardly. Yeah, right. Hardly ever.
And
So,
same with us. We're
yeah.
trying to get appointments with these people. We're trying to add value. We're stacking that relationship. Talk about how some of the things that you train on, coach, as far as when you're teaching people in your industry, what are some of the things you teach and train them to do when they're trying to build that rapport? They want to go in and get the business, but they have to build that rapport first. How do you help coach people around that?
Well, before I have a meeting, Coach Dave, I send like a personal email to the client. So getting the email is all about like professionally what I can bring to the table, like run an analysis, that type of thing. But prior to the email, I send them something, or I'm sorry, prior to the meeting, I send them an email that says, "Hey, we're getting ready to have a meeting this morning. Just wanted to share a little bit about myself because today I'm going to ask you a little bit about yourself. And I feel like the more comfortable you are with me, the more we'll get accomplished." So examples of what I put in my email is, I've been working with clients for 34 years. I've been married for 30 years, and I have two grown sons. One's in his early 20s, and the other is getting ready to graduate college in December. So that's some of what I put in that email. The other thing I put in that email is I used to be a Boy Scout leader for 7 years, and I'm currently working for a veterans charity. The reason I pack all this in there is because there's going to be something in there that they're going to relate to. And I don't know what that is. And I hope everybody in the huddle sends a picture of themselves like every time they communicate with a prospect, because that's something else I do, because people buy off pictures. And if I look like somebody they could do business with, they can already themselves visualize doing business with me. So something else that I would mention is that like the more you do this and you give of yourself to your clients and your prospects, the more they'll want to give to you. Like people are going to do business with people they feel comfortable with. And one of the keys of rapport is sharing about yourself and getting comfortable with that. And then being very interested in them. I do a lot of that too, Coach Dave, when I'm talking to folks. I I'm an active listener and I take notes. I want to know all about them. If they're in Texas, I don't just ask, "How do you like Texas?" I like, "Hey, I see you're in Texas. Are you originally from Texas, or most people aren't. We know that, from experience." And they're like, "No, I'm actually originally from upstate New York." "Oh, really? I have some friends in upstate New York. What part of upstate New York are you from?" "I'm from Poughkeepsie." "Oh my God. I have like watched a band in downtown Poughkeepsie, New York before." And they're like, "No way. What's it called?" I'm like, "It's called Last Chance." "John, I know that bar." Boom, report.
Yep.
And
Just
and
don't be afraid to ask questions, because questions open up the gateway, don't they?
absolutely. And the more you know broadly about the market that you're calling into, so like if you're local, say in Tennessee, and you know like a lot about Memphis, a lot about Nashville, and I don't know where all your officers are located, but what I'm saying is the more you can talk about all these different geographic areas, and it's believable, uh, and also it's got to be true. The more you can relate to them. But I got a little tip that I can share with your folks too. As you're talking to somebody and you know where they're located, go ahead and get on Google Maps. I do this all the time, and look at where they're located, because there can be a lot of rapport building like right then and there. It's like you're calling out in California. Don't just assume they're on the beach. Look at where they're at, and in many times a conversation can happen about that, because like a major landmark will come up when you look on the Google Maps, and many times I use that to leverage more rapport. And sometimes you need to know a lot about where they live, and sometimes they like just talking about where they live. Like, oh, it looks like you're really close to this forest here. Or whatever. Like, you would be amazed when you get on this type of personal level. Most people that are calling these people for business won't do it, and that's why most people fail.
Yeah, that makes sense. We've got about 2 minutes kicking here to finish up. I have a question.
Yeah,
You're dealing with high end clients. Do you use scripting at all? Because I'm talking, one of the things we do in the huddle is we have some different scripts that I roll out. I mean, I know the answer, so I'm kind of teeing that up. Talk about the value, maybe, in closing here, of utilizing scripts, modifying it. I call it bumper lines, but
yeah,
talk about scripts for a minute.
man, I could talk for a long time about scripts. I love scripts. Like you get your script in your brain so that like it just oozes out of you, so you don't have to read it anymore. It's just a part of you. Like my wife, I work out of the house. I either work out of my house, you know where I live, Dave, or I work out of my lake house. And my wife will come in when I'm working out of my regular house, and she'll just be like, "Oh my God, do you say the same thing?"
People, especially people that are either newer in the business or newer with doing these daily habits. I know sometimes scripting can feel disingenuous, like it's not genuine. So I just think it's really important, everyone, that you've got to take the scripts and like the bumper lines, as I always say, and you've got to take those scripts and you've got to make them your own. What Simon might say is totally different than what Roland may say, but as long as you have that direction, right? As long as you have that direction, it keeps you, scripts keep you grounded and focused, don't they? I think that's the
They
big
do.
thing. What about no's? I have another question. What about no's? Do you let no's get in your way? Like when somebody says no, or how do you mentally adjust and take the no?
Well, it depends upon what the no is too. Um, but objections in general, like when somebody objects to what I'm bringing to the table, I try to soften them down a bit. And two, I try to honor the question. Because a lot of people that teach sales training always teach an objection, and being in that's like an adversarial situation. Like one guy's in one side, one guy's in the other, and you're punching it out until somebody buys the product. I don't believe in selling that way. I'm a super analytical person, and so what I always do is I always say that's a good question, John. I don't want to do it. You know what? I can see hesitation. I understand hesitation. But during this conversation, you mentioned that, I had this benefit for you, this benefit for you, this benefit for you too. Broadly speaking, as we look at these benefits, forget about like moving forward right now. Tell me of those benefits, what makes you so excited? And I get them back into the benefits. Um, and then sometimes too, I uncover the real objection. Um, but but I honor the objection,
Yeah.
and we work together on the same side of the table to get to what they want. If I have what they want and there's just some hesitation on their part, and they don't know, like, I got to get them over that hump, so to speak. That's one thing. Um, if they're just negative towards me and it's a personality thing and they just don't like me for whatever reason, well, that's cool because, my people and myself, we'll call other people like we don't need their business. Like, one of the reasons why I think we're so successful, it's our attitude. Like, we honestly do not need your business, is my attitude. I'd love to have your business because I love making money. But at the end of the day, whether you buy from me or not is going to be irrelevant to how I live my life this year. And I think that helps, like that attitude, and two, like not being adversarial. Like, I'm going to help you get what you want. If there's some hesitation, I want to work on this and talk it through with you, see what might be holding us back here. But at the end of the day, if it's not a fit for you, I don't want you to move forward either. But if it's just a question you have, like, my price is too high or whatever, we're going to work through that and see if, the value I bring is bigger than the price.
I love that. There you go, guys. I think that to close this out was maybe the best comment of the day. If people can sniff out if you're desperate for a deal. And when you come across and have an attitude of, I'd love to have your business, I'd love to have a meeting with you, but I've got other clients that are wanting what I have, and you all bring value. And so when you're trying to get meetings with agents, if they don't want a meeting, and you guys have all heard me say, John is my buddy that will ask me to go to a band every Friday night. How many of you on this call have heard me use John as an example? You just didn't know who it was. He'll ask me every week, hey, do you want to go see a band Friday? And I'm like, no. And John doesn't get offended. He just goes, okay, no problem. Talk to you later, buddy. And then
And I go
the
by
next,
myself, Coach Dave.
I know he goes by, but he doesn't get offended. He's like, that's cool. It's like, he's like offering me dessert. Do you want a piece of dessert? No, yes. Okay. So guys, but that's amazing. If you can come up with that attitude, be strong, know that you bring value. That is the biggest thing. I put John's website in the chat box, everybody. If you want to go check out any of the stuff that he's doing, you're running one heck of a sales special. I know at the end of the month here, giving your ebook away and all kinds of stuff for $29.99, which I kind of have told you is stupid. It's way too cheap, but you're giving that and your podcast. I mean, all kinds of stuff, guys. So go check out his site. It's a great value. He should be charging like $999, but he's been doing that for this month, and I'm not sure why he did it. You sell, trying to get it out there to a lot of people. But guys, was anybody give him a little bit of a show of hands here? We give a little virtual love here. I know we went 3 minutes over. John, I appreciate you. Thank you. And maybe someday get you back on the huddle again when you're back in the studio in town here. How's that sound?
Awesome, Dave. Coach, always a pleasure.
Coach John, make it a great day. Go inspire your high school buddies from the 80s.
There you go, man. We're going to knock
right.
it out like we did to win city championship.
There you go. Everybody, I appreciate you. Make it a great day. Today's a great day to spend time with family. Get your calls done as quickly as you can today. Go have fun with family, friends. We don't get a lot of these opportunities. They're short-lived. Go have fun. Get your calls done first, and I'll see you Monday on the huddle. Have a great day.